Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. I'm Rich Spicer, and it is all sponsored today by Independent Bank as well as Marianne Quist of RE/MAX Central. We spend a little bit of time, about 30 minutes or so, chatting about good things going on in the community. Katy Huckle is here, and
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's almost Christmas.
It's darn near it, and
Okay.
really, I mean, the next time we do this, it will be after Christmas next Saturday.
That's crazy. And so, good segue here, right?
Yes.
When we think about what went down on Christmas Eve, right? And housing and the need for housing, and oh my goodness sakes, critical human need, feeding people, clothing people, housing people. We've got Chris Crawley, who is the director of the New Hope Shelter, with us this morning. Chris, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us how it's going. Big project.
Well, good morning, everyone. Yeah, our project that we have going on with our new facility, I was just over there the other day. It's glad to see that we have our windows installed. We have doors up. It's starting to look like a building now. We have the roof. We got the tie-vac on.
Yep.
We were hoping to have some siding on this winter, but it's still coming in. And from experience, it's got to wait till spring when it's a little warmer, so we don't have any issues with it. But it's coming along great. Steel studs were finished up, and now we got the professionals coming in.
Wow. So, because of COVID, your siding and some of your materials were delayed. Is that right?
Some of our materials were delayed during this time, yes.
Okay, and it's too cold to side.
Right.
Okay, all right. Tell us about your fundraising efforts and how the organization is doing financially.
Yeah, financially, we're still, need a little short on our facility.
Okay.
And we would need, a good another $50,000, $60,000 to get everything done that we'd like to have done. That would be completing the parking lot that we have to have done, putting in a nice security system. We eventually will need an outbuilding too, because we need places to put our storage, so our donations and our pantry items, and then where we're going to put the snowblower, that I'm going to be using later, and the lawnmower and things like that.
It's like a house.
Yeah.
You got to have it. So can you tell us, for our listeners that maybe aren't familiar with your services, it's a homeless shelter, so we know what that is. Mm-hmm. But there are other services that are so important that you're providing. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, right now, we do provide, of course, a place for them to sleep, but we provide 2 meals a day, and we also provide, a hot shower, a place for them to do laundry, clean clothes. And then another thing that we're actually working on is that we received a workforce development grant, and so we're working on helping the clients to get back on their feet. It's amazing on how many people you would think come in and looking for a job. The first thing in the barrier is not having an ID. So what is it? The cost. It's only $15, but if you've been homeless for the last couple of weeks and no job, $15 is a lot of money.
Absolutely.
So now we have a program to where we can help get them their license or their ID, but maybe they can't find their birth certificate to go get it. So then we help research that. But the program will also have to be able to help them with building their application, building up their resume, and then doing mock interviews, having people like you and other people in the community come in and do mock interviews so they're not so nervous when they're doing that interview in the real world. And then once they do that, we can try to help them out. We'll get to their job. Once they're hired, it's like, here's some bus passes until they get their first paycheck. Or maybe they don't have any dress clothes to show up at the interview with. We can help them out with that. So we're really getting at workforce skills and having some other job training skills, budgeting, financing, having people in the banking world come in and teach that.
Life coaching.
Life coaching. It's definitely what some of these people need reinforced, because maybe they had some of that when they were younger and they've kind of forgot about it. Right. Maybe cooking. We have, our female supervisor over at the women's shelter. She's passionate about cooking. And so she's showing them how to cook, each night. There's people come in and they cook, and there's a list and a recipe. She writes it up, helps them. If she's not available, one of the other staff members do too.
Oh, that's wonderful. So it's not a handout, it's a hand up.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of these are at the beginning stages where once we get to the new facility, it would come together more because we'll have that conference room, so we're going to need some computers, Wi-Fi, some printers, different things like that we're going to need in the future to help get to that point where they can, and then bring in people in from the community that is specialized in that. And that way they're not trying to get one person at a time, say down to Michigan Works. Michigan Works could come there and handle 10 or 12 of them at a time.
Wow.
It's going to be more efficient.
Certainly sounds so.
It does. And it's just amazing work. Compare and contrast this to your previous career.
It was a banker, Rich.
Compare and contrast,
Okay.
yes.
Well, the banking career was great. and it had me led to a lot of the things that help me now with the networking. Because if, Katie knows banking is all about networking.
Sure is.
And so it's about learning about people and how to deal with people, but also learning who's in the community, who are the people to make the right moves, who to talk to. And now being in a nonprofit, you need that same type of thing. And I tell you, and it's worked great. I just give you an example, a small example the other day. I put it on Facebook. We got our first snow out there. We needed some snow. I was like, hey, we need 6 shovels. Or I think it was 3 shovels and 6 rakes. It was right before that. And by the end of the day, it was already supplied.
Amazing.
I put out there before about needing 3 TVs. Within an hour, I had 4 TVs.
But that speaks to your credibility and the work that the agency is doing in the community. It's a proven winner for people.
Yes.
And so then when they see you growing and you expanding and you being able to help and serve more people, everyone wants to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Do. So let's talk about fundraising. What's on the docket? What's coming up that would give people an opportunity to support?
Well, right now we have on our website, or actually our Facebook page, we have a Christmas wish list that's out there with some different things, and it kind of gives you a breakdown. Hey, I want to give $500, but what's that $500 going to? Well, if you look at the wish list, it actually gives you a breakdown. Maybe that $500 is you're providing a bathroom for one of the units,
right? Or
maybe $1,600. Maybe that's giving you the refrigerator, microwave, and range for one of the kitchen units. There's 4 kitchen units in the family, right, and then we have 1 in each of the men and women. So you actually get to see that. So that's out there on our Facebook page. I was just sharing with Rich right before this that we have our Amazon wish list out there, and we've had some people. I'm getting 2 refrigerators delivered here based on someone buying that for us.
Incredible. I love that concept of here's specifically what we need. No one wants to buy the toilet paper.
Right.
No one wants to buy the toilet paper. They want to think about feeding people or housing people or clean sheets and beds and, those basic human needs.
Yes.
So 5 years down the road, if everything went perfectly, what would it look like?
Well, we would have, of course, our facility be done next year, hopefully, but there's some places call it like the next steps,
okay,
type thing. So we have another, we still have our women's shelter that we will continue to have at this point. We're trying to figure out what to do with that.
I see.
One of those would be to try and do transitional housing to where once they've been into the shelter and they've got a job and they're getting some stability, then maybe that we can move them over into the transitional housing where they're renting a room. And it's a long term. It's a 6-month to 12-month, because affordable housing, we don't have a lot of that in northern Michigan. Mm-hmm. So that's one way to get them to where they can save some money. Also teach them in-depth skills there too, more than what they were just getting at the shelter. So it's that next step in life. Some of the other larger shelters in downstate have those type of programs. So we would like to kind of mimic that up here on a smaller scale. So that's something we like to see starting next year, and maybe have some type of, like some of those stores they have, or organizations downstate, they have a place where they can actually work, send the people from the shelter over and work and make money.
Nice.
So what is there out there that we could do? A lot of them say restore. We have a lot of restores in Cadillac.
Sure do.
I think there should be something else. There's possibly a restaurant. That something like that could happen. But what is it? Is there a small manufacturing business? What is it that we could take those clients, put them into work, that where they're learning a life skill, getting paid, getting back on their feet, and have maybe a homeowner someday. Maybe they come to see you for that first home mortgage.
It sounds like you're building confidence and independence along the way.
Correct.
And that can't be done overnight. It's a process.
It is a process.
Do you see these people? Do you see changes in them when you get into the life coaching? And like you said, maybe they didn't even know how to get their ID, or maybe they didn't. Once they start completing those smaller tasks, do you see a change?
Yeah, there's a change that it's about that building that confidence, like you said. And so you have staff there too that are encouraging them. Mm-hmm. Being that the office over to women's shelter, that's where I'm at most of the time, and I get to see or hear that from the staff that's working, and they have a lot of inspirational things around on the walls and stuff, and you can hear them when something's like, hey, I've got a job interview, you hear the staff encouraging them about that.
Wonderful.
Saying, great. Now what? Now how are you going to prepare for that? Or, hey, I got that job. Okay, so let's work on what are you going to do with that money? You're going to try to save it. So those are small steps. I mean, it's not every client, but every one, it's just like, it's a win. Anytime that happens.
Oh, that's just heartwarming, isn't it, Rich?
It's got to be rewarding for you to see lives changed and turned around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've had, even at the men's shelter earlier this year when we had our first, with the pandemic, I worked over at the shelter during the day so we could stay open 24/7 because there was nowhere for to go. But we had, a lot of the guys that were in there, we can hold 7, and I would say 4 or 5 of them were actually all had jobs and probably working at one of the fast food here in town.
Is that right?
And it was positive, and then one of them finally, they were on the list and got their first, not their first, but an apartment. And so that was successful. Anytime that they can get into a place, and at the time they didn't have anything too. So I'm like, well, what do you have to put over there? Well, I don't have anything. Well, I reached out to Doreen.
Sure.
She helped out with the Cadillac Area Foundation and then just other people I know too. And we were able to get some stuff for this person, into their place. I got another guy too, just bought his, a home here recently. And he sent me a text. Hey, I've done this and I want to come and help out at the shelter once I'm on my feet because of the service that we provided for them. He wants to give back.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
It's a testimony.
It really is.
They say you can't have a testimony without a test. And that's what these folks have been through. They've been tested.
Yeah.
And they come out on top because of the organization. What's the best thing about your job?
The best thing about my job, I just like helping people. I mean, Rich has known me for a long time, but that's just kind of in my blood, I guess. I've always been, helps is one of my gifts, and so I always feel, I'm happy when I'm able to, it's like a puzzle too. You're trying to figure it out. Well, what's the problem? All right, well, let me see what I can do to help you out, and it's just that look on their face when you have helped them out, or whether it be financially, whether it be in material, or whether it just be in their form or something. And it's just...
Chris, where does that come from? Is that how you were raised? Is that your faith? Is that living your faith? Where does that come from?
I would say that probably come from my grandma.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I hope she's listening.
Unfortunately, she passed away last Christmas.
Okay.
But no, that's where I get it from. I mean, it's the faith too, but my grandma was a very giving woman, liked to help all the time as much as she could. And so I think that's where I get a lot of that from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How can people donate? How can they get you a check, or how can they donate online? I mean, you mentioned the website and buying things for the house itself. What if someone just wanted to give you cash?
Yeah, if they want to give me cash, they can always give us a call at the office. It's 231-468-2022. But they can also call my cell phone, too, if they like. It's 231-884-0272. And we can meet up somewhere if that's the case, or over at the shelter, wherever it might be. But if you want to have cash, I don't recommend sending it in the mail. We do get some of that once in a while, but it's best to give in person. And also I can have your info so we can give you a tax donation receipt too.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So your general contractor on the project is Ken Orschel.
Correct.
He's a good guy.
He is.
So let's pin him down and ask him when he's going to be done.
Well, I think the last I heard is going to be end of May, 1st of June.
Okay.
I think part of it was because of the siding.
Sure.
But we have, as I mentioned earlier, with the stuff that's finishing up this week and next week, we have the professionals coming in. We have Atkins Electric coming in for doing electrical work, and we have Maverick Mechanical coming in doing the plumbing. And once they get done with that, then we'll be looking for volunteers again to come out and start doing some insulation.
Oh,
so
boy.
we're going to do blown insulation in the attic, and then we'll be doing some stuff in the sides to get prepared. And then the drywallers, the professionals will come in and do that. They wouldn't want to see some of my handiwork on that.
Well, I was just going to say, can I be more like gardening, landscaping, and let's put Rich on insulation?
There we go.
How's that sound, buddy?
There you go.
And that's one of those things that we're going to be looking for, is that landscaping and stuff. When the spring and stuff starts to hit, it's like, what are we going to do for that? That's not part of the construction budget, of course. That's something later. And we have, 5 acres right there. So we have a lot of area there that we could to do a lot of different things. I'd maybe put in a little garden,
right,
that we can provide for fresh vegetables and stuff for the shelter while we're there. I mean,
fabulous idea. I mean, that's directly related to health and wellness too.
Yeah.
It's healthy eating. Oh my goodness. How many people, once it's all said and done, what's capacity?
So maximum capacity will be 60.
60?
Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So per our federal home loan grant, though, we have to have a minimum of 38 beds. And so with right now, we typically would have anywhere from 32 to 35, but we did sell one of our family units in order to help pay for some of the funding that we have now. So that's about 4 less than what we can have at max. But yeah, we have to have that 38, but maximum up to 60.
Wow. You know, Chris, you strike me as the type of leader that if somebody in the audience wanted to talk to you about the mission and they were considering a donation, that you'd sit down and have a cup of coffee with them, and you're comfortable with that.
Oh, yeah.
The executive director that puts his personal cell phone number out there is going to put he's putting his money where his mouth is.
Oh, you got that right. You get along well with other nonprofits. You serve on other nonprofit boards. When you were in banking, you did all kinds of nonprofit work. Mm-hmm. How hard is it to be running a nonprofit and working with other nonprofits? What we find, because we have a lot of directors on the show, is that you all work so well together. There doesn't seem to be a spirit of competition. Instead, it's a spirit of collaboration.
It is. It's been a great thing. As you mentioned there, I do serve on the Wexford Osceola Habitat Board, too, and we just got a big fundraiser. And, you know, there's other things that I can do besides the fundraising part, but I sit on the family selection committee, and we just selected, the family about a month and a half ago. And so I set in through that process. But the thing with that part of it is I might have a potential client that becomes one of those people that gets one of those houses in the future. It's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be 3 or 4 months from now.
Right.
But it could be that starts that process and getting them down the road. So I think that helps out there. But we're also on a collaboration phone call, typically that's once, twice a month. And what's great about it is if I feel I have a need, I shoot an email out to there. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the day, it's probably fulfilled by one of those other organizations, or vice versa. They put something there, hey, we need help with this, or someone's looking for this. It might be something I have in our garage right now that we're not going to be using. Right. That I can be like, yeah, sure, I have one where does it need to go. So we work well together.
And then you don't have a duplication of effort. I mean, maybe one of them is feeding a need that you didn't know too. And so when you're all talking like that, it's really something. Copying the homework.
Right. No need to reinvent the wheel when there's something else out there. One of the other organizations are providing, instead of, hey, we should be doing this. It's like, no, this organization's already doing it. Let's just get a hold of them and, help them out.
So a year and a half ago, let's go backwards for a second. Chris gets out of bed and it's time to go to work and put on your suit. Things have changed. Now Chris gets out of bed and it's time to, roll up the sleeves. It's a totally different job day for you, work day.
Yeah, the work days are a lot different. I mean, I wear jeans and typically a nice shirt, but like today, I rolled out and I was on a 1.5 hour Zoom meeting earlier this morning, and then later that day, I was loading up my truck with donations that we had locally. There was a drive for coats and blankets, anything like that, winter gloves, and I went over and 2 truckloads. Actually, I got 1 truckload sitting out in the parking lot now to wait. So when I'm done here, I'll go back and unload at the shelter. But you never know what your day is going to be. My first week, I was changing out toilets.
No kidding.
So that's when I decided that a suit wasn't part of the job.
So your education's in a totally. What prepared you to do this?
Calling friends.
You said, what am I getting into?
Yeah, YouTube videos, just that's it. You ask my wife, she'll be the first one to tell you I'm not a handyman.
Well, you are now.
So I have to learn.
Right. You can't hire all this stuff done. There just isn't budgeting for it. You're a jack of all trades.
Try to be.
And a master fundraiser, I think.
I hope we try to do that too, different ideas. And that's where some of the working together with the other nonprofits, we've had to change this year, right? Because we haven't been able to do in-person things.
I know it.
So Habitat, we did that silent auction online. And that was a great thing. Was that something that some others have done too? So now we have to think about what we're going to do, because we didn't do anything this year as far as a fundraiser. I mean, we work with Blue Dog that sends out Thanksgiving and Christmas inserts and things. And that's how we do our annual campaign this year.
It's sort of automated.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a company that we use, and it's been great this year. finally seeing the returns. We've been working with them for 3 years.
Right.
And so those are the type of things, and just reaching out with our board members, just reaching out to their connections, and that's how we get it.
I'm telling you, Chris, in this community, if a need is identified and pitched, it'll get filled.
It will.
And it's going to happen. I mean, $50,000 to $60,000 sounds like a lot of money. But what? I mean, that's, 5 people at 10, that's 10 people at 5. It's out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be done. Just as I was unloading the blankets and stuff today, we had one of our clients was there and decided to help us do it. And she's like, where did this come from? And we're like, well, it was locally we had 7 or 8 boxes set up and people just donated to it. And then one of my staff members, she was like, I've been telling you, this community has been grateful. They're a giving community. They do really care about those that are in need.
So before we let you go here, places to interact with you, find out what's going on, Facebook, website, what are all those links?
So we have our website is newhopecadillac.org, and that's where you'll also find our donate button on there, and you'll also find our Amazon link to do that. So if you haven't, some people don't know this, but if you sign up for Amazon and you're buying stuff, you can actually sign up for Smile Amazon and link a local nonprofit organization as one of your people to receive such a percentage every quarter. So if you haven't done that, check it out. Maybe it's us, maybe it's someone else, but whatever your passion for. But the other is our Facebook page. You can go to New Hope Center there. We have the page there. There's no donate button on that section yet, but there you can contact me on my cell phone, as I mentioned earlier, or you can mail us a check, and that's at 4874 Meyer Avenue, Cadillac, Michigan, 49601.
Okay.
Excellent. He's doing important work. Thank you from the community for filling such a critical need, and for the 60 men that in the future will be sleeping in that shelter.
And
incredible.
Families too.
Yeah, I don't say that. 60 women, children, men, families.
Incredible.
Yeah. And I thank you for having me on here too.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you guys.
You are always welcome, and the next time you need another volunteer drive, let us know, all right?
Oh, we're all over it.
All right.
Sounds good.
It's Chris Crawley from New Hope Shelter here on Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. We have more to come, don't we, Katie?
We do. We have a special Christmas guest. And Sally Goggin was on Good Morning America a few years ago because she taught at the Santa School. So I don't know if you knew this, Rich, but if you want to help Santa and be a Santa out in the community, there's a school for these folks. And Sally is their #1 instructor. And so she's going to tell us in a couple minutes here what it takes.
And we'll get to that in a moment after a word from our sponsor, Mary Ann Quist of RE/MAX Central, also sponsored by Independent Bank.
Ho, ho, ho.
We'll have a weather check from Mr. Langworthy and come right back with some more Christmas. Well, you said ho, 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 right?
I said ho, ho, ho.
It's coming
absolutely.
Up. 107.9 CDY. Buying a home is still the great American dream. And yes, it can be an intimidating process. But you can rest assured and have confidence when the professionals from RE/MAX Central are in your corner to guide you through it. Mary Ann Quist of RE/MAX Central has helped hundreds of home buyers in and around the Cadillac area navigate the process over the years, and she's ready to help you too. From start to finish, from finding a home to submitting an offer, to understanding the purchase agreement, to inspections, surveys, and appraisals, to the time when you finally sit down and sign those closing documents, Mary Ann will be there. When you're ready to buy, talk to Mary Ann Quist at RE/MAX Central. See her listings at teamquist.com. It is time now for part 2 of Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY, sponsored by Mary Ann Quist of RE/MAX Central and Independent Bank. And one of Cadillac's grand dames is with us here.
She sure is. I'll tell you. You got that right.
Well, and I'll tell you, Sally Goggin has, there are so many aspects, so many facets to what she does.
Most talented lady I've ever met. No kidding. She is. So we asked Sally to join us this morning because many people don't know this, but Santa goes to school to learn how to be a Santa. And specifically, his helper Santas out there go to school. And Sally is the star instructor at Santa School in Midland. And tell us a little bit about how you fell into that role, and tell us about how it's done.
Well, let me say first, Santa's helpers come to learn from one of the best Santa's helpers, His name is Tom Valent, and he has a Santa School in Midland. And there's nothing merrier than having 250 Santas in an auditorium full in front of you, all laughing at the same time. I mean, the ho-ho-hos are well beyond what you would ever expect. And the Santa School is actually started in England more than 75 years ago. It was moved to Upper New York State, and then my friend Tom brought it to Midland, Michigan. There's a fabulous Santa house. If you've never visited the Santa house, it's worth it. It's open even between Christmas and New Year. But if you have little ones to take to see Santa, it's something you won't want to miss.
And it actually is happening this year, Sally?
It is. They have Santa behind a glass, and
of course,
kids are sitting in front of him. But it is a most magical place to visit. Believe me, I served on a Christmas lighting committee in Midland when we lived there, and Tom Valent was part of that, and he encouraged the city to build the Santa house, and it's right next door to the historic courthouse, and built in a similar fashion and style, and it has a glockenspiel, and it is about as merry a place as live reindeer, by the way, that my friend Tom, who is one of the most amazing Santa's helpers you will ever want to meet, is responsible for everything that happens there, and the reindeer belong to him.
And of course, he owns reindeer, Sally. I mean, don't we? That's crazy.
He does.
You're acting like he owns a horse.
English Tudor home. I mean, I have a hard time believing that he's not the real guy.
So, can we? You use the word magical, Sally. Can we talk about the spirit of Santa, and what makes him? We all smile. I mean, you should see Rich right now. He's grinning from ear to ear like he is 5 years old because we're talking about Santa Claus. What is it about Santa that makes him so magical?
It is the joy. It's the happiness that just the thought of him brings to all of us, because I think Santa makes all of us better people during the holidays, and makes us feel that we need to be more giving and more loving, and all of those things that you associate with Christmas time, also with Christ's birth, the happiness, the joyfulness that comes, the light of the world. But Santa was originally named Saint Nicholas, and so they still in Europe call him Saint Nicholas, not Santa Claus. That's a very U.S. term. And so that joyfulness comes from the heart, comes from inside.
He doesn't expect anything. He's just giving. He's not taking.
He's giving all the time, right. Giving all the time, and in a very joyful giving, and teaching us all how to be better givers, and also better receivers of love and joy that is out there at this time of year.
Okay, awesome. Can you tell me, when you meet with the Santas for your portion, and of course we know Sally is an accomplished actress, what are some of the things you've mentioned, the ho 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 and singing and stuff? Can you? That's got to come from the belly. Is that right? The ho ho ho.
Well, and what we talk about is I teach them how to sell a song. Basically, I encourage them, because so many times Santa's helpers have to be in one place talking to children. Obviously, this year is a little different, but I encourage them to, like, every hour or so, get up and move around and have jingle bells with you to hand out to kids to ring their bells and sing a song with them. And many of them say to me, well, I don't sing. And I say, oh, yes, you do. You sing like Santa. That's who you are, and so you do sing. And you are Santa, and so that's what Santa sings like. So that's what I constantly remind them. And I explain to them how getting up and moving around helps them control their breath, gives them some support, because they can, day after day, talking to children, they can lose their voice. It gets pretty raspy. And it also gives them a break to move around and move their arms and walk. And and when they can't get away from the situation, they have to make the very best of it. And nothing gives children more delight than to have Santa walking around and singing with them. I can't explain. This is all stuff that, honestly, I learned from the Santa house and the joy of watching children come into the Santa house. Pat and I they call them elves when you help out there, but watching hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of children coming through the Santa house, awed by the place to begin with, but then when Santa stands up and starts singing with them and letting them play his bells, my gracious, it's a wonderful experience. And the Santa Claus helpers that I teach, they arrive in green knickers and red shirts, and it's usually October when we get together. And so they are all in this huge room, and some have their own beards, and some do have to have makeup, but they learn about costuming and the best place to make their uniform, have their uniform made. And they get makeup tips on how Santa should look, because they have to be very realistic for children. And they also learn about all of the newest gifts that are out there, the newest toys that they need to be up on as they talk to the children. And so it honestly is very educational, especially for men who aren't always up on the most recent dolls that are there. And I have gained so much just personally from watching these men express stories about their experiences as Santas. And I have found myself getting more and more joyful every year because of getting to meet with all of them again. So what I teach them is a very small part of what they learn over a 3-day period, but they do come up and sing and lead the whole group, and 200 Santas all singing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas." You get in the spirit pretty fast.
I was going to ask you that, Sally. What are the top 3 songs on the Santa songbook?
We Wish You a Merry Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and you have to start it with Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen. You have to do the whole 9 yards.
Oh, wow.
And then they all make the joke about the reindeer that nobody knows about, Olive the other reindeer.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, that's a good joke. That's a good
Olive
one.
the other reindeer.
Uh-huh.
And let me think. Let's see. Oh, we generally all end singing White Christmas together.
Okay.
They've got to have the songs memorized, Sal.
That's what they're dreaming about, too.
Oh, sure.
All of this are.
Wow.
And we've had Santas there from Harrods in London, and Santas from Italy, and Santas from South America, and California. They travel from all over the world to go to this Santa school because it's got such a fabulous reputation.
Incredible. Is it your favorite, besides being with your family, is it your favorite part of the Christmas season, your Santa experience?
Oh, yes, definitely. And as I have said, Tom Valent is the most amazing, giving man. He owns a construction company, so that he's president of a construction company, so when the Santa house was built, he got all of his buddies to come and donate their time to build it.
Incredible. This has got to go on the bucket list, Rich.
Yeah, definitely.
It is amazing.
Sally,
my grandson thought it was pretty wonderful, too.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Well, I wanted to know how we're going to get Rich some green knickers and a red shirt. Okay. I mean, that would be adorable.
This is radio, but you did not see the crazy look I just flashed at Katie for that comment.
I'm going to hook you up.
Good thing we don't have.
I'm thinking this is a grand idea.
Good thing we don't have a webcam in this room right now.
I also have, because I get little gifts from Santa every year when I teach at the school. I have red suspenders on here that hang in my house, and a hat, and I have this beautiful ornament that is a glass ornament blown glass ornament of the Santa house. So I do have suspenders that you could borrow and a red Santa hat.
I love it. Well, Sally, as always, I love hearing her stories. I mean, she brings so much experience and class and sophistication to Cadillac. So Merry Christmas to you, and let's go out with you singing the first verse of We Wish You a Merry Christmas. Sal, will you do that for us?
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Love ya. Merry Christmas.